Hi, welcome to your channel Generous, Gracious and Gallant. I'm your host Dr. Ghosh and I'm back today with another awe-inspiring story for all of you. Before we go on to the story, for those of you who are already my subscribers on YouTube, Facebook and WhatsApp, heartfelt thank you. And for those of you who are visiting my channel for the first time, let me give you a deep dive into Generous, Gracious and Gallant. Generous, Gracious and Gallant was founded in 2015 on Facebook, where today there are about 810 members and we have about 120 members on WhatsApp, and we started Generous, Gracious and Gallant in May 2020 on YouTube, where today there are about 120 subscribers plus. Generous, Gracious and Gallant was formed with the twin objectives of sharing daily inspiration with you and sharing with you the best stories of mankind, meaning mankind at its very best. This is to strengthen the moral fiber and support the present and coming generations. Coming back to our story, the person I'm going to be speaking to you about today is Molly Brown. Molly Brown was born on 18 July 1867 in Hannibal, Missouri. She was known as the Titanic survivor, and she used this fame to canvass for the rights of workmen, women suffrage, the rights of women to education and for improvement of women's lives, literacy for children and women, preservation of historical sites, and commemoration of bravery of the personnel who showed extraordinary courage during the sinking of the Titanic. She was born in a hospital near the Mississippi River in Hannibal, Missouri. Her parents were Irish Catholic immigrants. Her father was John Tobin and mother was Johanna Tobin. At the age of 18, she moved to Leadville, Colorado along with her brother Daniel and found a job in a departmental store there. At Leadville, while she was there, she married an enterprising, self-educated man with the name of James Joseph Brown on 1st September 1886. She was a young girl of 19 and he was a 33-year-old gentleman. He was not rich, but she married him for love. Subsequently, when she was asked about this, she said, "I wanted a rich man, but I loved Jim Brown. I thought about how I wanted comfort from my father and how I was determined to stay single until a man presented himself who could give the tired old man the things I longed to give him. Jim was as poor as we were and had no better chance in life. I struggled hard with myself in those days. I loved Jim, but he was poor. Finally, I decided I would be better off with a poor man who I loved than a wealthy man whose money had attracted me. So I married Jim Brown. They had 2 children, Larry and Helen. Mary Brown thought her husband had no future in gaining wealth, but as luck would have it, Brown family acquired great wealth. when JJ mining engineering efforts proved instrumental in locating a gold seam in the Little Johnny mine for his employers, Ibex Mining Company, and he was awarded 12,500 shares of the stock and given a place on the board of directors. Molly, because she had experienced hardships in her earlier life, was always humble, simple, and empathetic. So, when her husband was working in the mining company, she frequently went down to the shanties and the mining area and helped in the soup kitchens, which helped feed the hungry miners. In 1894, they bought a mansion in Denver, Colorado, and 1897, JJ and Molly Brown built a summer house, Awaco Lodge, in southwest Denver, near Bear Creek, which gave the family more opportunities to socially interact with their peers. Margaret was a member of the Denver's Women's Club, whose mission was improvement of women's lives by continuing education and philanthropy. Margaret became immersed in arts and was fluent in 4 languages: French, German, Italian, and Russian. Margaret also co-founded a branch of Alliance France to promote the French culture in America. She gave parties and invited Denver socialites to her parties. After 23 years of marriage, JJ and Margaret separated in 1909. She assisted in multiple fundraising efforts after this. Her husband had separated from her because Margaret was too outgoing and supporting various fundraisers and other activities which JJ was not keen on. So after her divorce, she immersed herself full-time in philanthropic activities. And she also worked with Judge Ben Lindsley to help destitute children and establish USA's first juvenile courts. These were the frontrunners of today's modern juvenile court system. Amazing fact, isn't it? 1912, she was in Paris along with her daughter Helen when she got word that her grandchild was severely and seriously ill in the States. She immediately booked passage on the first available liner, and as luck would have it, that was the RMS Titanic, which was leaving to New York. Her daughter luckily stayed back. She was booked as a first-class passenger on RMS Titanic and boarded Titanic on April 1912 on 10th April. Titanic sank on the early morning hours of April 15, 1912 at 2:20 a.m. She helped many to board lifeboats. Despite being a first-class passenger, she went out of her way to support people boarding the lifeboats, and finally had to be persuaded to board a lifeboat herself, as it was among the last few lifeboats to be leaving Titanic. She became famous for her efforts after the sinking of the Titanic for trying to go back and pick up more survivors. Quartermaster Robert Hitchens was not in favor of going back to the site of Titanic sinking along with the other survivors on the boat, because he feared the suction of Titanic sinking will sink the lifeboats, or other survivors may clamber onto the lifeboat and sink it. Margaret would have none of it, and she took an oar and started shouting that they need to go back. She made multiple efforts, and finally she threatened to throw aboard Quartermaster Robert Hichens. Sources vary whether they were able to go back and successfully take on more survivors, but her valiant efforts have been recorded in history. Upon rescue by RMS Carpathia, which picked up the survivors of the RMS Titanic, she proceeded to form a survivor committee to secure basic needs for the second and third class passengers and did informal counseling for all the passengers. She gathered over $10,000 for the second and third class passengers through her efforts and stayed on Carpathia till every passenger of Titanic had been found and handed over to a relative, a family member, a doctor or a friend. Her kindness and dedication in these difficult times when she herself was affected by the sinking of the Titanic is amazing act of a humanitarian. She did not think of herself, she thought about others, even in the most difficulty of situations. A humanitarian to the core. Once the inquiry of the Titanic started, only men were allowed to dispose before the Titanic inquiry, and Margaret became livid at this, and she wrote out her account of the Titanic's sinking and got it published in Denver, New York and Paris papers. In those days, women's right to vote was not available in the States, and Margaret, as a frontrunner, campaigned for women's suffrage, and she ran for Senate in 1914. But she ended her campaign on humanitarian grounds to go and work with the American Committee for Devastated France during World War II, where she used her fame as a Titanic survivor to look after the soldiers, carry out extensive repairs in France. In the last few years of her life, she reverted to acting, which was very dear to her, and she died in her sleep on October 26, 1932. Her legacy is not only her fame as a survivor of the Titanic, where she was responsible for going back and convincing the quartermaster to hunt for more survivors despite everyone being against her. Her bravery is amazing. Also, her using her fame as a Titanic survivor to campaign for issues which are close to her heart, such as the rights of workmen, rights of women and children, education for women and children, preservation of historical sites, and women's suffrage or the right to vote for women. She also doggedly pursued authorities to ensure that men and women who had shown tremendous courage during the sinking of the Titanic were honored and not forgotten. When she was a part of the American Committee for Devastated France, she helped rebuild multiple areas in France which had been devastated by the First World War, and also took care of wounded American and French citizens. She was awarded the Legionnaire of Honor for good citizenship, activism, philanthropy. In 1985, she was inducted into the Colorado Women's Hall of Fame. Margaret Brown also known as Maggie, and given the epitaph of Molly the Unsinkable, a totally awe-inspiring woman who was kind-hearted, empathetic, and simple in her life, who helped set up kitchen soups for hungry miners. She went on to use her fame at Titanic survivor not only by raising funds for second and third class passengers, counseling them, but she also used her fame for the rights of women, children, literacy, education, and preservation of historical sites. As already shared earlier, she won the Legion of Honor for good citizenship from France. A totally awe-inspiring woman. Friends, if you like these awe-inspiring stories which I bring to you, I request you to kindly press the subscription button and also the bell icon so that you get an update on every new story which I bring for you on your channel, Generous, Gracious and Gallant. Friends, I'm also a firm proponent of the difference to one concept. These are COVID-19 times and mankind is facing its biggest battle against the COVID-19 virus. It's time up for us to stand up and be counted and make a difference to one person in our community. You don't know how far the ripples of your kindness will spread. Friends, till we meet again with another awe-inspiring story on your channel, Generous, Gracious and Gallant, good luck and all the best. I request you to stay safe, wear a mask, avoid crowded places, and please stand up and be counted in mankind's battle against the COVID-19 virus and make a difference to one. Till we meet again, good luck, all the best. Thank you.